Hey guys, Dylan here, and today I figured we'd go back and do something classic. That being that we'd return to the Quickie. Today we are going to be reading a very old Quickie article, that being about the Anchuent prophecy. The Anchuent prophecy, pronounced Anchuent, of the Cherokean clan is one of the central plot points of the entire CWCki series, often being cited to explain many fantastical developments in the story. And if you look next to us, you can see the Anchuent prophecy seen on a wall. And it is a bunch of fucking scribbles. I get that it's supposed to look like ancient Egyptian artifacts, but that's even more stupid considering that it's supposed to be Cherokee in nature, and the fact that the Cherokean king dresses like an ancient Greek warrior doesn't help. It's a bunch of fucking shit. Christian knows nothing about any culture, especially the Cherokee culture. Primarily, the prophecy explains why Chris and several other human beings in the comic can transform into furries. While the prophecy originally only concerned Chris, Sarah, and Wes's relationship, as the series progressed, all non-Chris details were essentially ignored or forgotten. The prophecy is also important because it renders Sonichu, the supposed main character of the comic, even more pointless, firmly establishing him simply as the electric creature, which creature is one of my favorite words, whose only purpose is to help unlock Christian's superpowers for himself. Well, more superpowers, as he was already capable of using satanic voodoo powers. Long thought to be a typo, it consistently has eventually led to the realization that it is probably meant to be a Pikachu pun. Why or how the Cherokee would make a pun of the English word ancient and the Japanese word chew, an onomatopoeia for squeak, is unclear. The prophecy. Original prophecy, Christian, Wes, and Sarah, destined trio. The original prophecy was brought to light when Sonichu happened upon the Destiny Cave, prompting the old man dwelling there to remark that Sonichu was the creature of the prophecy. Learning that it was his destiny to enter the cave, the Destiny Cave, and learn of the prophecy, Chris accompanied Sonichu back to the cave, where he learned that Sonichu had inadvertently set off the events releasing Count Graduan, an evil spirit locked away for centuries by the Cherokee and Wasabi clans, which those are Native American clans apparently. The prophecy, according to the Keeper of the Destiny Cave, is as follows. It was prophesied by ancient masters that the reincarnation of our leader will take the pin in hand to combine a mouse and hedgehog and give birth to the electric creature. Then the leader will place his handmade medallion on the pedestal and release the powers that were his. And yes, this does require him already knowing about this and already making a Sonichu medallion ahead of time. That was also in the prophecy, so Christian was always going to be a loser. It was predestined. As well as his ladies and rivals' powers. The powers will transform you into Power Rangers. Into electric creatures with variable powers of good, bad, and peace. I don't know what powers of bad are, but okay. Also, an evil will strike the day the original electric creature finds the cave. Only released powers can defeat the evil. Yes, that's right. The act of Christian and Sonichu showing up at the cave to hear about the prophecy in the first place is what allows the evil to escape. If they had just sealed up the damn cave, there wouldn't have been any problem. But that would have also meant that Chris wouldn't be able to gain the ability to turn into a furry. And we can't have that. Recognizing that the ancient evil could only be defeated by the powers at his command, Chris fulfilled his part of the prophecy by placing his Sonichu medallion on the pedestal, allowing the old man to say the incantation that would activate the medallion, as well as the fire shock pendant, one of the most useless artifacts in all of Sonichu, and the lightning bracelets, actually the most useless fucking power-up or artifact in all of Sonichu. These 3 totems would now give their rightful bearers the power to become electric hedgehogs like Sonichu, making Sonichu and friends pointless. The reincarnation of the Cherokee King, Christian, could now become Christian Sonichu, which he tried to pretend like was a secret identity at the beginning, but it's so stupid because Christian is literally in the name. The reincarnation of his queen, Sarah Hammer, or Surhama, which, that went very far. Yeah, she definitely became his wife, received the lightning bracelets, and became Surhama Rosachu, the leader of the Wasabi clan, who had been the Cherokean leader's romantic rival, was now Christian's rival, Wes Isley, a guy that actually existed, along with Sarah Hammer, someone who also actually existed. And so he accepted the Fire Shock Pendant and became Wesley Sonichu. Initially, the 3 prophesized electric creatures were unaware of another human identities until Wes Isley attacked Christian out of spite. 4 issues both in real life and their mutual interest in Sarah Hammer's affections, and fictitious ancient past, the ownership of the Cherokean crown. Okay, earlier I said that the other thing was the most pointless artifact. The Cherokean crown is the most pointless artifact because it only appears once. The prophecy would go on to accurately describe how Surhama would have to bring peace to Wesley and Christian so they could present a united front against Graduan. This prophecy is bullshit because those 2 didn't show up for the final fight against Graduan at all. It should be noted that they never actually did stop Graduan at all. Exactly. The 3 of them teamed up temporarily to defeat a stone golem under Graduan's command, whilst Graduan himself left with Mary Lee Walsh to start running the private villa of corrupted citizens, which, by the way, Christian had a chance to stop him and said there was no point because they were destined to fight again. So it's all Christian's fault. Sarah ran off with William Spicer and got married, while Wes actually ended up joining Graduan's evil organization. Though there is no explanation of his reasons for the defection to the enemy at all, besides the fact that he's evil. Both of these things came to pass because Sarah got married in real life, and Chris developed an interest in the new unfortunate girl, and since Sarah being out of the picture left Wes obsolete, he was simply made into a generic villain, and then there was another one made to replace him. He basically made Giovanni's son, Natesurk, the new Wesley, and he gets a fucking Sonichu form just like him, so Wesley gets straight up replaced. Thus, in spite of the prophecy, Chris is left alone to fight Graduan and an army of its followers, essentially making the other 2 completely useless and the prophecy a failure. Extended prophecy, Crystal, the dream sibling. When Chris was ambushed by the WM manager at McDeeville in the region of Malwart, yes, these are real things that exist. I've made them in Minecraft, sadly. He received another vision of his Cherokean ancestor, advising him to combine the powers of Christian Sonichu with the Heart Torch, which I did a video on that, go check it out. He constructed from pixel blocks. In this way, he could be able to summon his dream sibling who could assist him in battle. Following his ancestors' instructions, Christian used the Heart Torch glow to manifest his identical twin sister, which is actually more like a clone. Yet again, I mentioned that in the video about it. Crystal, and the Rosachu medallion she could use to become Crystalina Rosachu. Joining forces with Christian Pure, they defeated the WM manager and made the city safe again, which, by the way, she is also a pointless character because she is Sailor Moon inspired and she's a woman, and she almost becomes completely useless when Megan is around, and she is a redundant character altogether. Fine print of the prophecy, Relnock, the ultimate dark being. When the original metal is submerged in darkness, the dark metal will appear, and he whose name is reversed shall transform into the ultimate dark being. And apparently the ultimate dark being has an arm that is completely twisted backwards. This additional detail in the prophecy, which was retconned and later went unnoticed by Christian, much to his dismay when he learned that the mishap in Graduan's dark mirror hole allowed Natsirk Giovanni to transform into Reldnock Natsu Natsirk, which brilliant name there. One of his deadliest enemies. He doesn't have a lot of enemies. Once again, this is an example of the prophecy fucking over more people than it helped. Since Reldnock really was the ultimate dark being, then that logically makes him an even bigger threat than Graduan, who the prophecy was made to defeat in the first place. Also note that the prophecy does not actually guarantee that Reldnock will be defeated at all, even though he eventually was in Sonichu 10. It's only thanks to the narrative magic that Chris ever actually managed to defeat all the numerous enemies that the prophecy actually created, meaning the prophecy was the real villain after all. That wouldn't have terrorized the world in the first place if he had just left well enough alone, meaning he should have just destroyed that fucking cave from the beginning. Alternate timeline, make it. Also, the original prophecy was spoken aloud to Chris by the keeper of the Destiny Cave. How could there be fine print at all? Exactly. I mean, it was written on the wall, but whatever. When it was spoken and not written on paper is never explained. It was written on the wall. The only sensible conclusion is that the Keeper either mumbled that part under his breath or just decided to not tell Christian that part at all. How Reldnock actually knows about that detail or the prophecy either is also a complete mystery. Completely unexplained part of the prophecy, some brown guy. Best way to fucking describe it, and yes, that's fucking Liquid Chris's Sonichu form. He actually did appear in the comic. Enter Ibia Chandler. He's a Sonichu character based off of Liquid Chris who appears in Sonichu 9. He works for the CWCki and fought in the Battle of Quickville. He showed up in Electric Hedgehog form for about 2 pages and was curb stomped by Sonichu in a matter of minutes. When he was defeated, he then suddenly transformed into a human, much like Chris, or the other transforming Sonichus do upon being defeated. Then, just as Sonichu calls an ambulance to have him taken to the hospital, he is grabbed by tentacles of a gang of devil trolls and carried off to safety. Apparently, the devil trolls are tiny goblin-like demon entities, some of which can fly, and the paramedics speculated that he was in alliance with them. So, who is this guy? Why does he have these powers? Why is he working for the CWCki? Why is he allied with devil trolls? What is his story? What is his motive? How does he factor into the prophecy? Is he human? Is he the devil? Why does he care about stealing Christian's identity? Why did he try to fight Sonichu? None of these questions are answered. Are you surprised? And, he had a medallion, a fucking fake medallion made of paper, and that's why Sonichu was able to defeat him so easily. So apparently someone was trying to forge medallions, and the medallions, the fake ones, would still give you the Sonichu powers. So what Christian said before about the ancient writing on the back, it was probably bullshit. And all you have to do is make a fucking medallion and you get superpowers. That's what it seems like anyway. The prophecy becomes even more relevant. In Sonichu 10, Christian's medallion is taken away from him by Beal, which is basically the devil, mirroring the real-life interception of the medallion by trolls. He then learns that the true power comes from friendship. Nah, I'm just kidding. Not the medallion, but from his Amnifest ring. Yeah, friendship would never be the true power with Christian, because he doesn't have any friends. The ring is, of course, never mentioned in the prophecy, and indeed, it is specified that he requires the medallion, the handmade medallion. The reader is expected to digest this information without any cognitive dissonance. And I want to say this, it is said now that he can transfer the magic from artifact to artifact. So the magic from the medallion was transferred to the ring and can also be transferred to other medallions. So really it's just the magic and not even the artifact. And that was everything on the Anchuent prophecy. Overall, the Anchuent prophecy was completely pointless and just let evil into the world. It created more villains than it did heroes, and it pretty much fucked over everything. It's very vague and non-descriptive, and it really is just whatever fucking Christian needs it to be for that story. But no one should be shocked. Things like Liquid Chris is never explained. Relnock is just a fucking rehash of fucking Wes Isley. It really was just pointless. And the whole reason why the Anchuent prophecy went nowhere is because it was supposed to be about Sarah Hammer and Wes Isley, but they moved on and did better things in real life. So Christian just got left with a dead-end plot hole. Very sad. Hopefully you guys like this reading though. If you learned something new today, hit that like button. If you really like this video, then share it around. And if you want to see more, then subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.